Welcome back to the Messianic Hour. I'm Judy Seculo, and I'm glad that you're listening and watching us today as we're still talking about this very different mysterious figure that's found in Genesis 14 by the name of Melchizedek. And we've kind of given you the overview of what he's like and found what his description is in the Torah. But now we're going to move to the Brit Hadashah, and this is where we see Messiah, shadows of Messiah, in the Torah, how they relate to the Brit Hadashah, and we're actually going to go to the book of Hebrews.
We are, but I'm going to jump back for a second.
Sure, honey.
Because I think it's important to realize that we talked about the pre-incarnation of Messiah. In other words, Messiah seen on earth before he actually comes in the New Testament. And where we see him, one is here, and the other place is when we see Jacob wrestling with this angel, who he ends up, it says that he calls him Pen-El, I saw the face of God and lived. And many scholars will say that they believe that the angel that he saw was Yeshua, because that's the only face of God that we can see and live. And it's interesting, both of them at the end want to reveal who the Messiah will be, but God shuts them up so that they weren't able to, and they're the only two that actually physically saw him as well. So now let's go into Hebrews.
Well, we see the book of Hebrews makes it very clear to us who Melchizedek was as a person, who really serves as a prophetic picture of Messiah in the Torah. And what's really interesting is that the book of Hebrews mentions Melchizedek by name no less than 10 times. So he obviously figures very heavily into the writer's purposes for the book. And it really kind of shows who this man is.
Well, and it's almost the reason why he did this too, is to allow the Jewish people to understand the connection. Really, the Essene sect would really understand this, and that's what many of them that he was writing to make that connection between him and Messiah.
Well, and you told us before that in the first section that Melchizedek was without a father, without a mother, without a genealogy, and we actually see that in Hebrews 7:3.
Right.
And it says that he was having neither beginning of days or end of life, but made like the Son of God, he abides as a peace perpetuality.
Now, how do we know this? This has to be also taught by the rabbis before him, again showing this mysteriousness of him, and that the order of Messiah is to come through Melchizedek and not Aaron, too. Very important.
So really, we have to kind of wonder, what did Abram see in Melchizedek? And maybe he saw the things, or God revealed to him through his spirit, of what the book of Hebrews is really kind of talking about here. And that Melchizedek was more than a mere man. There's really some strong, for lack of a better word, hints that we can take that give us clues that he was really a prefiguration of Messiah.
Right, and I really believe that when you see it, you understand the role he was playing. Again, in Judaism, we believe that before the world was created, the Messiah was already in existence. So this is not something that would be unusual or different.
So the first thing we really have to look at is, how could such a righteous man be a king of a city that was in the midst of such a demonic land?
Right, and we talked about that earlier. Isn't that what makes God God? He takes what's beyond belief and makes it believable, and that's what we see here. This little nation that's a land of peace, surrounded by chaos. Fast forward thousands of years, that same soul land is surrounded by chaos, but it's a land of peace, and that's why we're going there June 3rd through the 13th. Join us.
And then another difficult question about Melchizedek is, how did he become a priest unto God?
Right. When there's the term priest and the term peace, actually this is the first time we actually see these terms used in the Torah.
Well, because God hadn't designated the order of priesthood yet.
Right. And the term is that to recognize it's used there is El, and it's Elyon being the God Most High. This is make sure, because the Canaanites had their own gods, but this was to show that this God was a superior God to all the false gods. So he wasn't a god he wasn't a priest for the Canaanites. He was clearly a priest to Adonai.
Well, and the book of Hebrews says that this priesthood, which Melchizedek established, was superior to the Aaron priesthood, which was established in Abraham's descendants. So that would make sense if he's a prefiguration of Yeshua, because we know Yeshua was the ultimate priesthood.
And he was the priest in the order, too, of king and priest, which we see here has to come from the tribe of Judah. Where is Yeshua's lineage to? The tribe of Judah. He can be king and priest, not like Aaron. Aaron's a Levite. But here he can be the king and the priest in the order of Melchizedek. Very clear picture.
And we know that Abraham received a blessing from Melchizedek, and they gave him a tithe. So basically, Abraham was acknowledging in some way that Melchizedek was his spiritual supervisor. Right. He was superior to him in the spiritual department. So I guess the question is, why was not Melchizedek chosen then to establish this holy nation instead of Abraham?
Because he is God already. and so we see here that picture of Abraham bringing forth and worshiping God, worshiping Yeshua as the high priest, the ultimate high priest, greater than what would come, which is Aaron's priesthood. This is a beautiful picture of the heavenly, again, a reflection of the heavenly kingdom as well. And that's where we see that connection really come into play.
Well, and like you said, really when you compare Melchizedek and to Messiah in the person, there's just so many similarities that they're just kind of too close for Melchizedek to be just a mere man or whatever like that. Again, Melchizedek was one with neither beginning nor end. So was Yeshua.
Right.
He was a true king of peace. So is Yeshua. He is the king of righteousness. So is Yeshua. True. And he was the only qualified priest to the true God. Right. So
and he
was
was
Yeshua.
A prince of peace. Kingdom. Yeah, he was a king, so therefore he was a prince. Prince of peace. I mean, it's clearly a picture of the pre-incarnate of Messiah. And we again see that Abram recognized this, understood it, and knew that he had to give a tithe to it. So again, we see that connection of how the Torah was already in existence before it was given to us in written form at Mount Sinai with Moses. The word was already there. It's a beautiful picture of how this all comes together.
So again, it just shows you, if you go and you dig deep, you're going to find shadows of Messiah all throughout the Torah. I mean, we've just made it up to Genesis 17, and look, if you've just started listening, go back and listen to past shows. We started with Genesis 1:1, and we're showing you through all of these where you're going to see Messiah in the Torah, and that is going to be so important if you're trying to witness to an unsaved Jewish person, because that person, a Jewish person, doesn't believe in the New Testament, the New Covenant, the Brit Hadashah. You've got to be able to show them Yeshua in their Bible.
It's not enough just to read them John 3:16, but when you could show them in their own word, their own scripture, here's the Messiah, here's the triune nature of God in Genesis 1:1. Here's the offering, here's all these things. It's an eye-opening, and not only to the Jew, but to the Gentile as well, to show that it's the same God yesterday, today, and forever. So I really want to encourage you, go to our website, sign up for our newsletter, RabbiScott.com. You get a free book, I Have a Friend Who's Jewish to You. You get a prophecy card, 70 key prophecies, where they're found in the Torah, where they're fulfilled in the renewed covenant. Remember, we are a listener-supported show. You help us to continue to grow and to do the work we do by giving your donations. We also love to bless the land of Israel. You can plant a tree in Israel. We just planted an entire garden, over 100 trees this past week, and remember, it's of Tisha B'Av. So Tu B'Shevet. I just realized I said the wrong holiday. Tu B'Shevet. Join us with that as we come together. Remember to put us onto your Droid and to your Apple. Go to the app stores. We're soon going to be on the Roku channel as well. The Messianic channel can already be seen on Cross TV. We're expanding. We're sharing the gospel through the internet. Check us out each week at our service as well. Until next week, this is Rabbi Scott
and Judy
saying shalom and pray for the peace of Jerusalem.